Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. We're going to continue our foray into the World Class Championship Wrestling review series, and this is the February 6th, 1982 edition of World Class. This is the next installment available on the network. Several weeks are skipped. I'd love if somebody were able to comment and say that the TVs didn't air or that the tapes have not been released or what that looks like, because I don't know enough about 1982 World Class to know what the truth is there. We will be doing the entire series as available on the network over the next several weeks and months, but and then probably another territory after that. But in any event, there was some good stuff on this show, and then there was some really kind of what the heck did I just watch kind of stuff. This is the first show where there were moments that did not hold my attention, and there were moments that I really wished for more Von Erichs, which I'm sure in the weeks and months to come I'm not going to feel that way, but I certainly did. And so one thing I like is there's a smaller amount of matches and segments on each show back here. Now, notice that without commercials, these shows run usually between 43 and 46 minutes. We open with Wild Bill Irwin with Frank Dusek as his manager against Richard Blood. Richard Blood, a common name, I believe used by Tito Santana. I know used by Ricky Steamboat in earlier iterations of his career, but this one is an enhancement talent. Irwin, of course, a mainstay throughout Texas and the various iteration of Texas promotions, both here and well into the, I guess, mid-90s would be fair. Irwin does a lot of heel cheating style tactics and etc. Very basic match. There is a point where Blood gets a short-term comeback, including a really decent-looking drop kick, but gets cut off. The heel tactics of Wild Bill Irwin eventually win out. Then we move into a Von Erichs promo that was just, what did I just witness? Kevin and Kerry are out. I don't know if they're under the influence of something here, but if somebody said they were, I wouldn't be surprised. They mention their hobbies. Now, talk about filling time. If you did a segment on the hobbies of, I don't know, Ricochet or whomever on WWE TV today, you would not get anywhere. And so they talk about skydiving, and Kerry Von Erich mentions writing poetry and riding horses, and I think, I don't know that they mentioned parasailing, but there's other extreme sports that both of them mentioned, skydiving, that sort of thing. Kerry says something really funny about, it's worth going out of your way to see just because it's like, what did I just hear? Mentions writing a poem while skydiving before pulling his ripcord, which what did I just hear? But this is a almost surreal promo because the crowd at the Sportatorium is more into this than they are bits and pieces of matches on the rest of the show. Just again, reiterating how over the Von Erichs are. We move into match number 2, segment number 3, Carlos Zapata and Jose Lothario. This made me wonder about watching bits of World Class because this is a very long, drawn-out match. Lothario, who they said was 260 pounds, and his opponent was like 220. Lothario did not look to be in peak physical condition. And so it's definitely easy to see that this was a match to acknowledge the history of Jose Lothario in Texas and his appeal to that audience. Very slow match, lots of headlocks, arm bars, that sort of thing. Not a match worth going out of your way to see unless you're a Jose Lothario fan. I don't mean to disrespect Jose. I realize that he did a lot for wrestling in Texas over his career, but he's not a guy that I identify with. I guess it's worth mentioning that Arman Hussein, who is a manager at this point, is the color analyst for the program, which it's only interesting because he obviously is showing an obvious heel bias throughout. Then we move to the, I believe, Americans Championship match. Bugsy McGraw against Al Madrill. Madrill is another Texas mainstay. I can't believe they do this, but they must have been trying to fill time or different time, different era, and it is acceptable to go 15 minutes through with guys that are just there. McGraw just winning the championship not that long ago, within the last few weeks. Not shown on television, so might have been one of the missing episodes. But anyway, McGraw, for those who have not seen him, is a version of Eugene doing the crazy / slow gimmick, only he's an older man, probably in his 40s or 50s by this point, with a graying beard. So the comedy is exacerbated by the fact that he is an old man who thinks he's sane, and yet he's like second in charge of the promotion with having the championship he holds. They go 15 minutes through with no resolution. Do need to go back and just mention, yes, Jose Lothario did win the match that he was in previously with a punch, and the punch is sold as a complete knockout. So the inconsistency of punches being illegal and then punches being a finish is not just limited to the big show of today's modern era, but goes all the way back 36, 37 plus years, at least in world class. So back to Bugsy and Al Madrill. Nobody really gets a clear, definitive decision. They go 15 minutes through, and it is what it is as far as that's concerned. Then they call them standby matches because this was a championship match. Basically, Kerry Von Erich does some sort of modified tackle that I guess you could call a modified Fez press. Doesn't even get out of his ring jacket, and the match runs maybe 15 minutes total. Don't really understand, except I think the goal is to have a Von Erich on every television show, at least once in a wrestling match itself and once in an angle. This also gives us time for the main event or primary final attraction. I say primary final attraction because I don't know. I assume the championship match from earlier is the main event for the television, but Bundy against El Negro Assassin and Mr. Torres in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Obviously, Bundy wins decisively using his weight and his use of the bear hug and other power maneuvers, dominating both men for about 3 or 4 minutes before winning the contest. What's interesting is they don't talk so much about Jose Lothario training Big Daddy Bundy this time. They do reiterate his time in Alaska as a outdoorsman sort of worker, but this time they're saying that Fritz Von Erich did a lot of his training, and that Fritz was the one that discovered him in Alaska somehow and brought him to Texas. They didn't mention Andre this week, but it's clear at this point that they have big, big plans for Bundy. That is your review for the February 6th, 1982 edition of World Class. Hopefully, if the weekend goes according to plan, I'll have several more episodes up this weekend, so keep in touch for those. But until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.